We're going to the other side. Right here, right now, I put the offer out. I don't wanna chase you down. I know you see it. You run with me, and I can cut you free out of the treachery, the walls you keep in. So trade that typical for something colorful. And if it's crazy, live a little crazy. You can play it sensible, a king of conventional, or you can risk it all and see. Don't you wanna get away from the same? Oh, pot you gotta play, 'cause I got what you need. Come with me and take. Good afternoon, Dominica. You're right here with us on the big station Q95. It's that time again. It's time for the other side. Welcome, one and all. I hope you guys had a great day today. A productive one, a money making one. I like to say that. I'm just keeping it real. Yeah. So, welcome everyone to the other side. I'm your host, Tanya Dickson. And as usual, I have with me my fellow co hosts, hotelier, Mr. Sam Raphael, and businessman, Mr. Kenny Green. Yeah. Every day from 6 to 7:30 p.m., we present the views which are different from what you normally hear on a range of current event topics. Last week we had a good show going, but it was too short. It was too short. We were assessing um, the performance of our government as well as the opposition, and we didn't get too far. But it was a very exciting topic, and because of that, we brought it right back. Right? We brought it right back to last week, and I think people are very excited for it. So, and then there's so much going on in politics right now. There's so much going on. So I think it's just timely to assess the performance of the government and the opposition at this midterm mark. So tonight we continue with last week's performance review. Rejoining us are our graders. Yeah, I'm sticking to that too. Our guests, our graders. We have Mr. David Jones. He's a five-term senator of the legislature of the Virgin Islands. And we have Mr. Louis Patrick Hill, also called Nietzsche. Yes?
Yes.
I'll have to ask you what that means after because I came across that word, huh? But we'll talk about that after. So
Well,
Mr. Hill, one second, Kenny. Mr. Hill, he is a former finance chair, vice president, and president of the U.S. Virgin Islands Senate.
I just have to say for my brother, he is also a former Senate president.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah,
didn't want to.
but
I didn't want to do that. Yeah,
no, but
you didn't like how I intro him. You
yeah,
find I should give him more stuff.
yes, he's a former president. You got.
But you all gave us the rundown last week. We know among some very intelligent, knowledgeable, prestigious guys. We know that. Yeah. So we're not gonna wait. Well, I wish we could have gone back and done that again. For those now joining this week to know a little more about the graders, but we don't have enough time, so we have to dive in. Kenny, you were trying to say something.
yeah, tonight was supposed to be opening with my soapbox, but I want to just add a little sobering note to the show. Um, the one thing we as Caribbean men kind of fear the most is the loss of a loved one, especially our mothers. And our friend Sam in studio, stoic as he is, grateful that you turned up, has indeed lost his mother this week. And so, Sam, I'm going to give up this little period where I would have normally delved into the soapbox so that you can, basically pay tribute or say any other words that you would as they can come up with right now.
Yeah, Kenny, thank you so much. That's very kind. And Tanya, yeah, I mean, I know you guys might have talked about this, and I've gotten so many calls. My mother passed late Sunday unexpectedly, in Memphis. Actually, in Nashville, I was up visiting her last week, and the week before. And so it's so great that myself and so many of the family members could have visited and had a reunion, not knowing that we were telling her goodbye. She was in otherwise good health, so a remarkable woman. Tribute. She lived, Kenny, an amazing life. Life is always a struggle, but she persevered, and the struggle doesn't necessarily always have to be bitter and bad. It's just life, and overcoming struggle is a tremendous thing. And my mother is the epitome of, I think, the word resilience. If you look it up in the internet, maybe my mom's picture will be there, because she certainly, David would know, actually, David honored her when he was the president of the legislature as an outstanding mother in the Virgin Islands, and she left. Patrick, you met my mom also, so if you met her, you would know her. She left Dominica. Well, even before that, she grew up originally from Montine, Tetmon, and her mother moved when she was small to Bellevue when she married someone else, and she grew up as what they call an outside child in the family, and she had to quit school. Well, she was made to leave school in the 5th grade, standard 5, to take care of the children of the household, and she escaped through marriage at age 17, and this year would mark the 64th anniversary of my parents' wedding. And they kept trying to have the girl. They had 5 boys in Dominica, and my dad left in 66 and left her behind. He actually wanted to take her with him and send for the children later, but my mother was such a consummate mother. She sacrificed that, and she said she's not leaving her children behind. She's like a mother Fauci, taking all. So go, and even there, I say, well, when he went away, many people at the time left and didn't turn back and look for their family. She was concerned, as at that time, 25, 26-year-old girl. I saw my mom like an old woman, but I was 5 and 6 at the time, so she was that young, and struggling to take care of us. Moved to St. Croix. And had 2 more kids there, and she was looking for that girl, Tanya. She never got the girl. And 7 boys, and she eventually did well. She went, I remember when she did her 8th grade equivalence, and she was so proud of that. And I remember I was in university when she completed her GED for high school equivalence, and that was very special. And when she turned 65, she completed her degree at the University of the Virgin Islands. And she said, I sent 7 boys to university. At least I have to go to be educated like my boys, And that speaks. So if any of us, they've all gone and done well, and she left a powerful legacy. And through her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, she lived a full life. She didn't suffer at the end. She died, In a way, it's sad, but in a way, I'm happy that she never really suffered, and she left a powerful legacy with no regrets. So to all the Mother's Day coming around soon, and like we say, us boys and girls too, we must honor and spend time with our mothers, because, when they're gone, all you have, you're not going to hear their laugh and their voice, but their message is with you and the spirit is with you. So I just like to tribute to my mom and to all the mothers out there. Yeah. So.
Wow. Heartfelt
Thanks,
condolences.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks.
Whew. So we're gonna.
We can switch the tone now to
Yeah,
our
I know,
usual.
but it was just so it just made me think about a lot of things.
Yeah.
But yes, we're diving back in, guys. Back to that topic of that midterm assessment we're doing of the government and the opposition. Last week we left off assessing COVID, how the government managed COVID, as well as I think we touched, because you really can't really dive into the economy in its depth.
But he touched on foreign investment, which is
Yes.
one part of it. But maybe we can but Tanya, if I mean, maybe we can set maybe look at some sectors and some things. You don't want to look at it
because they were
way?
going to set the sectors first.
Okay, so guys, go ahead then.
They were setting the
Because
sectors.
we need to get in the meat, because I met people out there that told me
remember.
they're looking forward, politicians and everybody is looking
Mr.
forward
Jones
to this
was setting
thing.
the sectors.
So
we dived in with COVID
Senator Jones.
first. No, wait. You made me wait last week to hear the grade for the economy, because we had some opinions. I want to know the grade out of 10. Assessing the economy of Dominica right now, the performance of the government. Where are we? What's your grade, Mr. Jones?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much.
I told you we have
Thank you.
limited time. I dive
Thank
in
you,
today.
thank you very much, Tanya, and Kenny, and Sam. Before I respond, I just wanted to add a little to what Sam stated about his mom. She was a great inspiration to me. She was a woman of faith, a pillar in the community, and she, throughout all of the challenges, she never allowed whatever the challenges were to discourage her, and that she was very much a person to ensure that her children and even those who were around her were educated. As a matter of fact, she worked in the Department of Education for some time, and she inspired a lot of young people. People would go to her house, and I know on Saturdays I'll probably go by, and Sam's dad would have provisions, and we'll eat some boiled fish and fungi and some Tanya and fig. And Sam is a real farmer because of that, you know. So I just wanted to convey my condolences to Sam and his family. Now, the economy of Dominica is a work in progress because the country has suffered from serious natural disasters, two of which we know of, Maria and the pandemic, although some trying to determine the cause or the where that virus came from. But nonetheless, it's sort of impacted the entire world, and as a consequence, it's affected the economy of Dominica. I would think that the government is doing a credible job in maintaining the health, education, and welfare of the country, which is an essential function of government. The private sector can only do so much as it pertains to the welfare of the people, or even the education and the healthcare of the population. So the government has had an opportunity to secure funding from agencies, financial institutions such as the IMF, the World Bank, and other countries, making significant contributions to assist the government in its recovery from the impact of Hurricane Maria, as well as the pandemic. So it's still a work in progress, and to that extent, I would give them a B in handling the challenges that we face in Dominica after the hurricane.
Okay, so we got a B. Niji?
Yes, so yeah, thank you so much for having us back. Good evening to the listening audience. Sam, deep respect and love for your mother, and I know David's mom has passed and your mom just passed, so I'm the lucky guy. I still have my mom.
And
that's
Kenny
just
also.
80, and I just want to reach out to her. I don't know if she's listening or not, but tell her that I love her. So we got to really appreciate the moments, you know. In terms of the economy of Dominica, or any economy for that matter, I think when you're trying to figure out how the economy is doing, you got to look at a couple of things. One of them is you got to look at the construction industry. Construction is a heavy driver of economic activity in any country, anywhere you go. So if you have a lot of construction going on, means there's a lot of employment, there's a lot of money circulating, there's a lot of infrastructure being built. So on that front, I think if we look at the construction and infrastructure sector in Dominica, that is doing extremely well. There's a tremendous amount of housing being built all over the island. There's a massive project, road project taking place now up in the Kalanago territory from Pegua all the way out, supposed to be to the roundabout. So there's a significant. There was like serious. All of these emergency shelters that were being built in Jimit and Casa Bruce and other places. Some of the resilient health facilities that are being built. So I think the construction and infrastructure sector of Dominica and the economy, I think that's doing really, really well. I'd say the government deserve an A for that particular sector.
So can
So-
I ask a quick question? So
Yeah.
so why do we have so many locals um, saying that there's still not much work, or they're not getting, we're hearing contractors or owners of construction companies not getting work, or people saying there's construction going on like you said, but
Boy,
there's no work.
I don't have an answer to that. I'm surprised by that
Mhm.
because if you just look around Dominica, I mean, if you don't have to look hard.
Mhm.
There's a tremendous amount of construction and infrastructure activity happening around the country. You look at Roseau, there's buildings going up, 5-story buildings, 4-story buildings around the place. There's hotels being built, there's roads being built. There's no questioning the fact that the infrastructure and construction industry is booming in Dominica right
Can I
now.
ask
So
a question?
But I think
if
if
you
I'm,
have
Is
a couple, if
Mhm.
you have contractors that are not finding work, I don't know what the answer to that is, but
Can I ask a quick question? It may
Mhm.
sound like a stupid one, but is it possible to see construction going on, but not for the people to reap the benefits of that? Is it possible to see buildings going up everywhere and bridges building here and so many apartments and so many
no,
health centers?
I don't
and
think that's
then-
possible.
You don't think
Well,
that's
I don't-
possible?
well, one of the
unless there is some massive influx of workers from somewhere on the outside coming into the country, and I don't think that's the case in Dominica at all.
Okay.
well, one of the things that I think one of the challenges that exists in Dominica is the lack of a large population of skilled workers. Many of the skilled workers in the Virgin Islands, for example, from Dominica, St. Lucia, other parts of the region, and they really play an important role in the development of the U.S. Virgin Islands. So they migrate from Dominica to seek employment elsewhere, because as Nietzsche mentioned, the hurricane presented some opportunity for employment in those skilled areas. But I do not think that the country was ready to provide the workforce that was necessary to fill that void. In addition to that, I do not think that you had the type of businesses or organizations in the construction trade that was ready to engage with that kind of a program or product, because it requires a significant investment in equipment. Because again, in order for you to invest in a tractor trailer or excavator, I know Sam is intimately involved in those areas of construction. It requires a significant amount of capital investment. Now you're going to invest the money to procure those equipments, but if you do not have the necessary job or the demand for it, then you are at a loss. This is why the government was forced to bring workers and the businesses from outside, whether it's Dominica Strong or Reno or the other companies that came into Dominica
Mhm.
to work. And I think I've had some discussions with Dr. Peters, who is the president of the college, to really develop and expand their offerings in the trades, whether it's in carpentry, electricity, plumbing, and all the other skilled trades that will be necessary for the development of the country. But again, we didn't plan for Maria, and we didn't really expect Maria to cause such significant damage to the country. So, in order for the government to restore in a very rapid manner the recovery effort, they had to import workers and companies from outside.
So
Yeah, go
let me
ahead.
just
So you talk about construction.
construction and
Mhm.
the infrastructure. The other area that we should look at is tourism.
Okay.
And so let's look at the tourism sector. We have a tourism guy right next to us. He probably could speak to that a lot better than I can. But from my perspective, there's significant progress on the tourism front. You had Kempinski being built. You got a major hotel in Portsmouth being built. You had your Jungle Bay opening. You have the Fort Young doing some major expansion. So they're coming online. I think there's another one. Oh, there's another hotel in Salisbury being built.
The Marriott.
The
You just
Marriott
keep
in
mentioning-
Salisbury.
You just
right?
keep mentioning physical things.
No. But those things are critical to the development of tourism. You cannot have a tourism industry if you have no hotels to put people in.
Agreed.
So you must have the
But
infrastructure.
do we have the market?
So let me move into that, right?
Mhm.
So I think the preparation and the groundwork for the tourism industry is really significant. It has never happened in the history of Dominica. This is the first time in the history of in the development of the country that you have so much tourism infrastructure being put into place. So that is that's a significant thing for the economy. The other thing in terms of marketing and demand and all of that, let's look at what just happened recently. A direct flight from Miami to Dominica never happened before. Never in the history of this country had a flight where you could just jump on a plane and go straight to the United States. We have that now. They started off with a couple days in the week. Now I understand they have gone to every day in the week, which means there's demand. The only reason that American has made that decision is because they have seen the demand and they figure they can make money doing it. So what is creating that demand? There must be some marketing going on that is creating a demand for travel to Dominica. I think there could be more done. I believe that the Discover Dominica and the other hotels and DHTA and those organizations could certainly do more marketing and create more demand. COVID is just coming to an end. People are beginning to travel again because the market, tourism market was significantly hit by COVID. It is just now beginning to rebound. So we have to create more demand. But if we just look at what is happening now, I think that there is significant work going on. There's significant improvements happening. And if we can develop some more demand in the international market to bring more people into the country, and some can maybe speak to that better than I can. I think so. In terms of tourism, I give the government a B+ on that. They've done significant work on tourism. The other field that we have to sort of look at is agriculture. What are we doing in terms of agriculture or exports? Now, there I think the government is not doing particularly well. The agricultural sector in Dominica is still in the doldrums. It's been so for years, decades, since the banana industry essentially crashed because of the WTO decision. We have never sort of regained our momentum in terms of producing and exporting things from Dominica. And I think we can do significantly better than we're doing right now. The whole coordination of markets for people who are selling their produce and want to sell, the whole price of agricultural produce. One of the things I see up in the Kalinago territory all the time, and it bothers me all the time. People plant plantains and they have plantains. Everybody have plantain, and there's plantain coming out of your ears, and then you can only get 5 cents a pound, and plantain just on the side of the road rotting. You put all of this effort, all of your labor, your inputs and everything, and then your crop just stays there and rottens. To me, there has to be a better coordination on the part of the government and the part of the private sector to find markets for farmers who have worked so hard that their produce doesn't just rot and they're unpaid for it. We have to find export markets for that. I think Dexia is an organization that has been around for, I don't know how long, and I don't know how efficient Dexia is in terms of managing the import and export of produce from Dominica. I mean, it's supposed to be an import-export agency, but I really don't see how. So in terms of agricultural production, I would say that's a C. They're not performing very well on the
You want to touch
agricultural
on that,
sector.
Mr. Jones?
One of the things that I agree with with Senator Hill is that the efficiency of certain government agencies and their ability to meet their mandates. And that's a problem that I have observed, not only in the plantain. I understood that there's some women who are involved in agriculture that in Delis, they are growing toloma. I read an article about their activity and the lack of market and support for the Toloma. I think they're called the Toloma Women Action Group.
Okay.
They need help. They have the product, they're sitting, they have done the labor, made the investments, but there was supposed to be a factory that was damaged from the hurricane that was inoperable. And now they're trying to get it online in order for them to get the production increase. But the government needs to do a better job in, as Nishi said, in finding markets for the agricultural products. I know that the government right now, based on what I've learned, is that they are focusing now more so on agriculture than they did in the past. So that's very important. Now, as far as the tourism sector is concerned, and Sam could relate to that because in the Virgin Islands we had something called the old principle of the tourism thing: build it and they will come. The reason why we are focusing, I see now in Dominica, on hotel rooms, because we have diverted the attention from the banana industry, from an agricultural-based industry economy, to a more service and tourism-based economy, which is important because it does not require much, although it depends a lot on the external forces to determine how successful that industry would be. But by building the hotels and having the increased airline flights available to come into Dominica, and then the next move, I think, is the international airport, which will assist in that program. But the investment in specific areas on the island, the natural waterfalls and the other sites that could be, the government could support more investment in improving those sites to improve the tourism product for Dominica.
Well, with respect to tourism, it's kind of a awkward situation. I don't want to interfere with your grading. There are some things that are being done on this regard. I can say that, but I don't. It's not for me to stand here and defend the government per se on that defense. So I think you guys should just continue your grading. It's based on what you see, and you're trying to be objective. So I think it's only fair to allow you to dive in. And if you want to speak on other sectors, I don't know if we had other sectors or how you guys were going to go with this.
There is one particular area I think that I had mentioned last week, that Dominica has tremendous assets, some of them non-performing and some of them underperforming, and some of them, of course, doing well. There's one asset that I think is, in my estimation, underperforming, was the Ross University campus in Portsmouth. I think that's an excellent location where the government could look at developing a research and technology park and encourage research and development in stem cells and all of the more advanced medical procedures that exist to create employment and have Dominica be a destination and improve the health tourism aspect of tourism in Dominica. And that there's some university, the Dominica Medical School, is something to that effect. I don't know how effective they are and what is their enrollment, but I think that's an excellent location where government can consider looking at doing establishing a research and technology park, and in part because they have the facilities there already.
Two things I wanted to ask about that were elephants, and I didn't hear either of you mention them, is the beginning of the development of the new airport, which again is a major development,
Yeah.
and also to the acquisition of Domlec, which was recently done. I don't know how significant that is, how
Tie that into
insignificant you guys.
geothermal.
Hmm?
Tie that into geothermal.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I didn't, and I didn't talk about the airport because to me that's part of the whole construction infrastructure part of what's happening in the country right
Mhm.
now. Um, it'll be several years, I think, before you see the airport impacting tourism directly. So that's why I didn't lump it into the whole tourism thing. I think it's part of the whole infrastructure and construction industry, which I think the government is doing great. I think that's an A there for sure. In terms of the acquisition of Domlec, so there are different views on that. I happen to be a private sector person. I believe in the private sector and its efficiency and all of that. As long as Domlec runs efficiently, provides the necessary service that it should, and provides it at a cost that is not prohibitive to the people who live here. I don't know whether the government ownership is, I don't know how that's going to impact the price that people pay for electricity. So the public ownership of a major utility is sometimes viewed by government as a way of ensuring some stability and ownership of an important resource, and that's nothing wrong with that. I think the geothermal part of it is where the real change is going to come, because if the government is successful in developing geothermal in the country to the point where they're generating electricity and setting it up for distribution around, that would be that's hitting it out of the ballpark, because that's going to significantly decrease the cost of energy, which will significantly increase business opportunities and increase the environment, make the environment better for companies to invest because of low energy costs. High energy cost is always something that's prohibitive and prevents the development of any country. So renewable energy, and it's renewable. I don't think they can go wrong on geothermal as long as it's done in a scientific way, that it's done with the right engineering, it's done with the right expertise. And from everything that I've read, the government seems to be on the right track, using experts from, I don't know, Norway or wherever. But it sounds to me that geothermal is where the game changer is.
I know. The thing is, we know that. We definitely know it's where the game is.
Yeah.
What we are assessing is, how long this has been in the pipeline, the performance of this thing, the execution of this.
Right.
So what's your grade on that?
Well, I think that could have been done a lot quicker. I think it's been a long time.
Mhm.
It's been a long
And in
time
terms of the investment
in
into
coming.
it?
I don't know exactly how much the government has invested in the geothermal, but I think whatever they have invested, I think that will be paid back tenfold when you get to the generating point of it. So whatever the investment is, I think the government needs to make the investment to make that a reality and to begin to produce geothermal, because the way that the world market is with oil and the constant increase in oil prices around the world right now, if we can generate our own energy here and get off fossil fuels, I mean,
That'd be great.
yeah, that'd
Let's
be
hear from
phenomenal.
Mr. Jones, and then we can go to a break.
One of the things that I have observed, comparatively speaking, in the Virgin Islands, we had a similar situation with the Water and Power Authority, WAPA. And it came before the legislature where a private entity out of the United States wanted to acquire the generating capacity of the Water and Power Authority and leave the distribution to the government. So it would be a joint venture between the government of the Virgin Islands and the Southern Energy out of Georgia. Now, it came to the legislature because the utility was owned by the government of the Virgin Islands and run by a board. It was not efficient. To date, they're still having issues because, again, the government requires a lot of the entity requires a lot of capital for upgrading and facilitating the increased demand on the utility to provide power. Now, as far as Domlec is concerned, I think I am not really sure what the arrangement is regarding Domlec, if there's going to be some private sector involvement on a minority position, or if the utility will be run completely or entirely by the government of Dominica. A board of trustees is important to have qualified individuals on the board.
Dave, before you, I wouldn't want to get into this normally, but I am a member now selected
disclosure.
of the Domlec board. And so I, just as a point of clarification, I will clarify maybe after the break some of the things with respect to Domlec that both of you have raised. But continue.
Yeah, but I think it's a good thing because the people owning certain entities, business entities, is a good thing for the people, for the government to be involved. However, we know that from our experiences, and Niji could attest to that, the government does not always do things well in terms of running businesses. But Domlec, as it were, prior to the acquisition by the government, was a private entity, and of course, their bottom line was driven by profit. So they would cut costs to increase profit. But I must say that the utility in Dominica is superior. It does a very good job in comparison to what we have in the Virgin Islands. Absolutely. And I think they did an excellent job in maintaining power. I know they have challenges, of course, like all power plants, but on average, I think Domlec has a good track record as far as I'm concerned. So I'll give them an A.
Okay, and you didn't tie in your geothermal. I
Well-
give you 1 minute. I want to go to a break.
Well, yes, geothermal will just add to the efficiency of the delivery of affordable energy, and it will also be good for the environment.
We just keep speaking in this future. Is it here? That's the question.
Well, the future
How
is
long
now.
has it been promised? I think that's the question. But let's go to a quick break, Kenny, because it's already 6:41. Guys, keep it locked to Q95. You can also join us on the Facebook page, Q95. We'll be right back.
The offer out. I don't want to chase you down. I know you see it. You run with me, and I can cut you free out of the treachery of walls you keep in. So trade that typical for something colorful. And if it's crazy, live a little crazy. You can play it sensible, a king of conventional, or you can risk it all and see. Don't you wanna get away from the same? Oh, part you gotta play, 'cause I got what you need, so come with me and take the ride. It'll take you to the other side, 'cause you can do like you do, or you can do like me. Stay in the cage, or you finally take the key. Oh,
And we're live again here on the other side. We're continuing last week's topic on the midterm assessment of the government and the opposition. As usual, not as usual, but we're rejoined with our graders, Mr. David Jones, and I like to call him Nietzsche.
Nietzsche.
Yes, but
I'm for that.
I should give them your name too. Mr. Lewis Hill, Patrick Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of you guys may know him by that name. So we were discussing geothermal and Domlec and stuff like that. Kenny, you wanted to come in?
No, I'd let Sam go first because I want to come with a more overarching point. But Sam, please go ahead in terms of the Domlec equation.
Okay, first of all, I'm a member of the board of Domlec. I just want to disclose that, and as such, I cannot discuss the inner workings of the entity. That I just want to put down. That's not what I'm about to do. But I can't, I have to explain certain things to clarify. One, there's a sense that the acquisition of Domlec is a nice thing for sentimental reasons, but that's not why it was done at all. There are two compelling reasons why the government found it necessary. One is the case of national security, because we saw where there was loss of the whole entire grid pretty much after Hurricane Maria. And I don't know how you all realize how close we were to not having power in Dominica, because the private company, the practical thing for them to do was to walk away, because the reinvestment would have cost so much, in the long term. So it is a huge risk to have a private industry own the power and the distribution of power on an island like Dominica, where it's so vulnerable to natural disasters. One, so the government need to require it. Secondly, while the government is developing geothermal as a renewable, less expensive source, because once that gets going, the cost is going to drop down. You don't have to pay for fuel. The government did not have the means to distribute it to you, to me, to anyone. That is owned by Domlec.
Right.
Domlec owns the distribution, and Domlec owns
Generation.
the accounts. The government would own the generation, and there would be definitely issues there. So it was important for the government to acquire the distribution, which is important. And if there's an incident now, they can get from World Bank, they can get from all types of major international organizations where a private company would not have been able to get that. So this is something that's very practical. And Domlec is a private company. Don't forget that. The government owns a majority shares of Domlec. It actually purchased a company, a holding company.
You ready for that?
Oh, Kenny, you're there. Can you hear us?
Yeah, the issue that Sam raised is very important. It's a salient point, and that is that the distribution uh, uh, structure is exposed to natural disaster, and you cannot obtain insurance
Correct.
for that. It'd be very expensive. So
It's
this
just
is
not
what-
available.
precisely,
You can't get
it's
insurance.
too risky, right? Yeah. So that is something that is important, that ameliorate that exposure by the government owning it.
Kenny?
Kenny, come on.
Sorry, I got dropped off for a while. I think, firstly, guys, appreciate all of the commentary and the greetings and the feedback. I think one of the things that we have to look at are policy positions that are going to help shape Dominica going forward. Because, again, some keyboard warrior took me to task for the comments I made about the banana industry, which I stand by and statistically holds.
Would work.
And it's very important for us to understand this because we have some mythological positions that we hold about the past, and those positions have created some of the problems we have right now. Because if you look at some of the other countries, let's take St. Lucia. St. Lucia was heavily dependent on the banana industry in the 80s. Many people don't see that right now because of how much they've changed their focus of the economy.
Hmm. Kenny, sounds like we've lost you again.
Signal.
Yeah.
They've gone
I think you have a signal,
from
problem with your signal, Kenny. You may want to log on.
agriculture to
Kenny?
tourism
Struggling
based.
to
Yeah,
hear.
it's not hearing
Very,
us.
I'm in a bit of a hole. Yes, I'm a bit
Yeah, in
of
a
a
bit
hole, I
of,
think.
it's in a bit of a hole.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay, well, we're gonna give Kenny some time to, get his signal going again. We'll move forward, right?
But Kenny made a good point in that comparing St. Lucia's transformation from banana to tourism. They're doing very well in terms of tourism. We saw the similar situation with St. Kitts, moving from sugarcane to tourism. And so I think this is where Dominica is right now, in that transition mode to move from the agricultural based economy that was driving a balance of trade to tourism.
That's a good idea, now.
I will challenge that again. You're the guest, and I'm not supposed to challenge you. And part of it,
Why not?
Go ahead.
Why not? Why not?
and I'm not even the oldest. I like to tell Tanya and Kenny I'm the oldest, and they give me privilege,
But you
but
are
I'm
the
not the
oldest.
oldest. But not these guys are older than me. So yeah, at least David is. But Dave, I think we need to find a third way, which is not either or. I think we need to
Right.
develop our tourism in sync with our agro, and I insist on it because if we don't do that, Jungle Bay is in trouble. Because what we sell is an agrotourism island and an agrotourism product. So I think it gives us an advantage. There are things that we need to do to change and to modify and modernize, but certainly you should have the opportunity to grow your stuff, have tourists come and do farm tours on your stuff, tie it in. There's so many ways, more than one way to make money as a farmer. We just need to find good models
No, I agree.
and to do those
I
things. So,
agree.
but I do take your point in terms of the
But it
expansion of
sounds like-
tourism.
No, I was talking
Sounds like
about.
you're saying it's either or.
Yeah.
No, I was not saying that at all. I'm not suggesting that at all. It
Sorry,
can be.
guys. Can you guys
It
hear me
can-
now?
It
Yes,
can
we
be.
can.
Yeah,
Okay.
You want to continue with
I
your
think it's a
points?
vertically
Yes,
integrated
yeah, let me
approach.
just-
Go ahead.
What I was basically saying is that we've not developed, we've never had in the history of Dominica a clear policy position about where the economy is going to direct itself. It seems to me that we are now starting a process that other countries started probably 20, 30 years ago. And it begins with the air access. The political argument about the air access, it seems simple, but it is not, because air access was resisted for some time because it would raise our debt to GDP to unsustainable levels. Now we found a formula, hopefully through CBI, to be able to build the airport without incurring significant debt to GDP. But at the same time, the world has changed. And Nietzsche, to your question about, or your comment about agriculture, back then in the banana world, it wasn't just the WTO, which happened in 94, 95, but it was also the advent of the EU in 92. Because what happened was that all of these European countries were giving preferential trade status to their colonies, the British to us, the French to Martinique and Guadeloupe. All of them were importing bananas from these countries, the Spanish to the Canary Islands, Madeira. But the EU changed that, and it combined with the WTO, it changed the entire game. Right now, in 2022, it is more advantageous in most countries for the the wholesalers and the supermarkets, etc., to import commodity and resell it locally than to buy locally from the profit margin point of view. You may say, and you may rightly state, that it is a case of national security, so to speak, that we engage our local sources of food production. I agree with that. But you still need to put policy in place. And I think tourism is the best chance that we have, because if the infrastructure builds itself out, we can have what we call near market dominance, because it costs significantly less for a producer of goods, of agricultural products in an island like Dominica to sell to local hotels who are engaging a large amount of tourists who are coming in by international flights, than to try to sell it to external markets where they are competing with products that are coming from all over the world. So that's our chance. And that's why it's important that one thing, and that's my last comment, one thing must become sacrosanct, that no matter whoever the government is, we must have bipartisan support on a policy position for the economy. And if the policy position is the international airport to be buttressed by tourism in order to build out all of the other productive sectors, we need to have all the different sectors as well as the political parties supporting it, arguing about the implementation and about the direction that is being taken. But don't argue about the fact that we have to have a policy position that everyone agrees on.
Yeah, so Kenny, this one thought's been in my head in tourism. The one thing that I would say about tourism is David is right, we are at a juncture where we can establish public policy on tourism. The Caribbean, and Kenny is right, made decisions 20, 30, 40 years ago about how to develop their tourism industry. And they had sand and
Sun and sea.
And so they made a public policy to develop tourism based on sun and sea. Dominica doesn't have sun and sea.
Thank you.
We have to have a different
Yeah,
tourism
no,
public policy.
we have sun and sea,
Yes.
but it's different sun and sea.
that addresses
No,
our
it
strength,
don't.
which is nature
Our culture too.
and culture and agriculture.
I
And-
always
and
say
food,
that. You know,
absolutely.
how
And
those
so
no
our
white on the
tourism
beach.
the public policy that directs our tourism must take those things into consideration and
Yes.
base it on that and not on the sun and sea.
I think I don't know
policy.
why they think that
Yeah.
that won't sell, but that will.
But that is absolutely correct. But I would just say that we do have sun, we do have sand, and we do have sea in Dominica. We also have stones.
Come on now.
But-
Come on now.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But again, a lot of people will come. A lot of people will come to a black sand beach that is a result of the volcanic nature of the island, as opposed to a white sand beach
We're
in.
not selling beach.
Exactly.
We don't sell that here.
but I understand.
It's
No,
not beach.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying to you that this is what we have, so we sell what we have.
No, but that's
And we
not
put-
what we should push.
But we can't compete.
Nature-
David.
Right.
No,
We
no, no,
cannot
no. I'm
compete
not
with the
saying
sand.
that. No, no,
Guys-
no. I'm not saying we're competing with sand. I'm
As you are
simply
not-
saying that
are
it's
not
part
doing
of our
compete.
product.
As we are not going to compete, let's jump across because we have limited time.
Yes.
We don't open up the lines.
Yes.
Yeah, they'll stone us when we go outside. So let's talk
I
about the
don't have my
opposition quickly. I feel bad I'll be giving them that short amount of time, you know.
Yes.
But how do you all think about the performance of the opposition in this? Been 2.5 years now in this term. What are you all thinking?
Is there one?
Is there one? That's the first comment. What's your comment, Nietzsche?
Well, I would say if we look at the opposition, there's a couple of things you have to judge them by, right?
Mhm.
So we're midway, and we have an election in 2 years.
Mhm.
So is the opposition positioned right now, midway, to win how many more seats in the next election, right? So that is sort of how you have to judge the opposition, is on their capacity and ability to affect the next election, because they're not governing, right? So you can't judge them on all of the governance stuff, because they're not. So I would say if I looked at the opposition today
Mhm.
and looked at the seats that are out there, I don't see the opposition in any better position to capture one of those seats that they lost, much less to defeat a seat that has been in the Labour Party. So I think the opposition have a tremendous amount of work to do in
So
the next
why-
2 years if they are to perform well in the next election.
So why
I
do
think
you
they have a tremendous amount of work to do.
Why do you think that? Why do you think they're not in that position to capture any seats? Or
Well, I could answer that question
go ahead.
very simply. Their messaging is wrong. They are steeped in. I mean, it's like trying to accomplish a new result by doing the same thing over and over again.
Insanity.
Well, that's what they call it, right? So the opposition, I think, whoever is advising them on their strategy, they need to get rid of them.
What is the strategy in your?
I don't know what the strategy, because basically what I'm hearing is about this electoral reform. I mean, they keep driving electoral reform. They should be talking about constitutional reform. As I mentioned before, the OECS countries and most CARICOM countries adopted the Westminster system that they inherited from their colonial masters. And they're in control now, and they fail to make the appropriate changes and adjustments to deal with the reality of the situation that exists today. I think that the opposition should not be in a position to simply oppose anything that the ruling party proposes. But based on the system, I do not think that they can really readily make any significant contributions, because the way the system is set up, if you do not have a seat in parliament, then you really don't have the ability to influence what goes on, because most of the decisions are made not only in parliament but implemented in cabinet. And if you are not sitting in the cabinet room, you cannot really effectively affect whatever the policy determination is being made.
You feel the same way, Nichi? Or they should be
Well,
working on
I
constitutional.
I would, David has touched on that, but I have a few thoughts on the opposition and their politics, because I think at the end of the day, for you to win elections is about the politics. Is how do you conduct your politics? So one of the things that I learned in politics is, for somebody to vote for you, they got to like you. They got to like you. If they like you,
That makes sense.
they're going to vote for you. Yes, they have
Makes sense.
there's a big chance of somebody voting for you if they like
They
you.
like you. So you're talking personality.
Yes,
yeah?
they have to
Okay.
like you. When they see you, they have to say, yeah, what boy, he's a nice guy, boy. I like Mr. Or like her. So that's the one thing. They got to find candidates that are likable, that have a good personality, that have, good character, and they have to groom these candidates. You can't wait till an election is called and then pick a candidate and say, go and run, and expect the candidate to win.
Okay.
No, you have to groom your candidates. If you lost an election, and the last election was 2 years ago, the day that they lost the election, they should have started the campaign for the next election. They should have been selecting candidates, grooming the candidates, doing the necessary groundwork in the constituencies. The candidates got to be in the constituency. They got to work. They got to meet people. They got to, who is my hero in terms of political accomplishment in Dominica is Pierre Charles. The people look at Granby and think that the Labour Party it's like the Labour Party in Granby. The reason the Labour Party is so entrenched in Granby is because of Pierre Charles. Pierre Charles was in basketball. He was a cricketer. He was in culture. He was a singer. He was a drummer. He was doing kudme with all the farmers in Granby. He was in the church. He was everybody's godfather. The guy did everything in that community. When he came to run for office, he was just going to win.
Simple. It was simple.
And because he joined the Labour Party, the whole of the Granby community sort of got behind him, because before that it was a Freedom Party seat. But so candidates have a lot to do with how you win elections. and you have to choose the right candidates. You got to groom them. You got to prepare them. You got to prepare the communities, and then you have to provide a vision that people are going to buy into. So, what is the vision of the United Workers' Party? What is their vision, and what is the work that they're doing in preparing the candidates for the next election? And I don't see that happening right now.
And the other thing that I would like to add to what Nietzsche said, and he's absolutely correct. In order for you to lead the people, you have to love the people, and you have to show them love. There's a song, "And You Buy Your Love." that is a good approach. In addition to that, you need money, and you cannot get money by just simply going on the street and speaking on a loudspeaker and having somebody bring a basket and put $1 here, $1 there. You have to have relationships or in the community and outside of the country. I learned that I don't know much about Dominica's politics because I wasn't raised here.
Mm-hmm.
But some would say to me that when I would ask the question, that Rosie Douglas was the epitome of what an opposition leader would be like, because he would do exactly what Nietzsche mentioned. He would seek assistance from outside and bring it to the community, his constituency, to although he was not in power or in a ruling party, but he took the initiative because he really loved the people that he served. So he didn't wait until he became a member of parliament to do something for his people. This is something that I think that UWP is lacking. They do not have efficient leaders. That they do not have a very good message, an effective message that would encourage the people to give them a second look. And they need to identify, as Nietzsche said, individuals who show a level of interest and service for the people and not for themselves.
All right. On that
You
note,
guys are gonna get some serious stick.
yes, take a break. I need to take a break. Okay, go
take a
Sam. Do
break
not
for the
say anything. Do not say a word.
Right here, right now, I put the offer out. I don't want to chase you down. I know you see it. You run with me, and I can cut you free out of the treachery and walls you keep in. So trade that typical for something colorful. And if it's crazy, live a little crazy. You can play it sensible, a king of conventional, or you can risk it all and see. Don't you wanna get away from the strain? Oh, pot you gotta play, 'cause I got what you need, so come with me and take the ride. It'll take you.
Welcome back. Welcome back, guys. We're live here on the other side, talking about, the performance of the government for this midterm. 2.5 years, guys. We're in it. And we should be thinking, about elections. Just now, right? The lines are open. 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-2097. Overseas, I really want to hear from you guys too. I want to hear from Sam's friend in St. Thomas. 305-432-9624. Let's take the calls. Calling you live on the other side.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
I've been listening to your program tonight, and I must say I'm happy to hear, the conversation that you all guys are having. I have 2 points. The first one is you guys spoke about tourism, and I think you all were talking about we don't have beaches or sand and whatever, and we only have forests. But what if we were to have both the forest and sand and beach?
Well, I think you got it wrong. We didn't say we don't have beaches. We said the tourism product should not be beaches.
Yeah. But what I'm trying to say is, if we were to market both what they have and we had more to what they had. Okay, let's assume that the other islands have beaches, but we have beaches. We create our beaches and we promote our nature. We spend more in nature and in doing more for tourism to see that we have a gold that nobody else have.
Mm-hmm.
That to me would have boosted up the tourism industry. That's not point number one.
Okay.
Now, point
Make it
number
quick,
two
caller.
is
Mm-hmm.
when I heard one gentleman said that the opposition doesn't stand a chance. That, I think that person have it wrong because the opposition is not Lennox Clinton and his crew. The opposition is the people. And if you listen carefully, even when they were giving this young lady that house in Bath State, when she was crying and thanking God that she got a house, it's because things are bad and people cannot build their own home. We, the people, we are the opposition. And when you say such a thing, you're making us think like as if we don't stand a chance. We do stand a chance because our voices and we are the ones that are going to help make a difference and say if we're going to, because the economy has been shit for the past 20 years.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna have to take another call, but thank you for calling and thank you for the points.
Let me just make a point of clarification. I think the caller misunderstood the comment. It's not that the people are not engaged.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the political party, the organization,
Right.
which is in this case, I think the UWP
Mm-hmm.
has what? How many seats? 3 seats. 3 seats.
Okay.
3 seats, right? 3 seats. Now, before the last election, how many seats did they have? They had 6 seats, right? So it's becoming progressively worse. You are not gaining any seats. You are losing seats. So that means that something is wrong with your messaging, with your politics. That's the point I'm
Let's take
making.
another call. You're live on the other side.
Good evening, Ms. Green.
I'm
And
not
good
Miss
evening.
Green, I'm Miss Dickson, but I know we have the same name. It's okay.
Okay, anyway, good evening and good evening to your guests. One of the callers who spoke, I think the guy who just spoke a while ago, he talked about the messaging of the opposition is wrong. And he talked about grooming a candidate maybe from the last election 2 years ago. I would like to ask him, and I would want to stay on the line, if that only applies to the opposition.
No, not at all. I mean, there's
Grooming the candidate.
no. That is the function of political parties, right? To groom effective candidates to run.
I think he wants
Again,
you to be specific, Mr. Jones. Does
Well-
that
Yes,
apply to the DLP administration as well? Should they be grooming their candidates too?
well, they should be grooming the
Do they need
candidates.
to, I should say.
They should be grooming the candidates. I do not understand.
Okay.
You know.
Are they
Yes,
doing
I'm
a
still
better
on the
job
line.
at
Hello?
grooming their candidates?
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, we're here.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, I'm still on the line.
We know caller.
Yes, sir. But the Labour Party for the past 2 election cycles has changed almost 3/4 of their candidates, and they still win these seats overwhelmingly. They're not grooming any candidates. So how is that they are being successful?
Well, sir, I beg to differ with you. Maybe that's why they changed the candidates, because the ones that they had in place would probably have lost the election.
So you're saying that they are more
Precisely.
grooming their candidates.
Precisely. That's the
Okay.
point.
Okay, let's take another call. Take her overseas if there's one, please. You're live on the other side. No, I'm seeing people blowing up my phone from overseas.
Oh, okay.
So you're live on the other side?
Yes, good night on the other side.
Good evening.
First of all, how much money is Terry Clear?
Can you speak up, please?
Number 2, election reform will make the difference. So to make sure say, so can many money have lost to poll the election.
Good thing I can't understand Creole. Because I feel it was
She's talking about you, Tanya.
me.
Yeah, all about you.
Next caller, please.
Okay, thank you. You're live on the other side.
Tanya,
Yes.
they were not talking about you. Those fellas that they are lying. You want to that
government
Some people
stole
like
the
that. I can't
election.
hear the person clear.
Well, I just don't have to be getting on like kindergarten children to know. And all money for bullshit work. You don't mean if you have a power, but security is a volley. He keeps in every election. All this.
Thank you, caller. Thank you. Oh Lord, let's keep
No,
it
no,
civil now.
no. You see, let me say something. This is one of the things I observed in here in Dominica and the politics. It's very personal, and they engage in character assassinations rather than deciding and discussing policy disagreements with the government. They go into personal attacks, which makes no sense. The government is not perfect. They're in a majority, and although they are in a majority, they are not always right because the government does have the right to be wrong. But if you have an effective opposition, quote unquote,
Dave,
you could highlight those areas of the policy that you disagree with and show how you could do it better, not just oppose it for the sake of opposition.
Kenny, you want to say
Dave,
something?
Dave, it's a very good point. And I would like to say it's a sign of almost helplessness. Huh? I mean, when you're growing up and you played like Saki Tapi, as we used to call it, and one guy felt he was not getting a chance to play, he would just wreck the game. He would
Yeah.
come and he'd throw the bat down and he'd throw the wicket down and say, no more game,
Yeah.
because he feels he doesn't have a chance to win or to even get in the game. And so that is kind of what you're seeing, is a kind of helplessness. So people lash out at people who they feel are sustaining their sense of helplessness. So in a way, I understand that. What you're right about is that there's no real policy discussions. What people say is that Sam is a volley, I'm a volley, Tanya is a volley. Well, no, they didn't say that about you for real,
Never,
Tanya.
never.
But that's the point. And you made a very, very strong point there that most of the discussions are based on characters and assassinating characters, which is, why we are the way we are right now.
Let's take another call, Kenny. The lines are going up.
Mhm.
Follow your live.
Hey, Tanya, good evening.
Good evening.
And good evening to your partner. Let's do this quick.
Yes.
Good
quick.
evening.
Good
You
evening.
ask a question in the beginning of your program. You ask the men on there, from 1 to 10, rate the economy, and they haven't done that. They give you all kind of different reasons.
They give me a B.
Yeah.
Just a B.
I
Yeah.
listened,
Yeah.
but they didn't tell you whether it's a 4 or a 5 or
You want
6.
to give them a number now, Mr.
They
Jordan?
just
Well,
actually give you the monthly.
a B is a 3 within a 4-point scale. 4 being A.
No, I
3.5 B plus.
actually heard one of the guys say he gave the government an A.
It's
Now,
for a certain section.
Yes, that
Yes.
was in
now,
construction.
Construction. Yeah.
now, before that, let me ask him one question based on the construction he used. The question about the construction investments. Where does these monies come from? Who are the investor or investors of this construction stuff? And
Let me just answer that. There are multiple sources of infrastructure investment. So, for instance, there's a hotel being built in Portsmouth. There's a Fort Young is building a hotel. Those are private sector investments. There's a major road construction being built from Pigwa to that's a World Bank government funded loan infrastructure. So there I see multiple buildings going up in Roseau. I don't know. I assume that those are privately owned buildings of people who are building financial commercial structures. So that's private financing. So I think the financing is on multiple fronts.
the financing, come from CBI, right? That's the only source of this financing.
No, that's not all.
Sale of
That's
passports.
not true.
That's not all.
It's not true.
No.
Not all.
You called out a few construction projects, which the government themselves actually said is CBI monies. And ask Sam Raphael where he did money for the project he have in control come from too. Let him tell us.
I'd be happy to answer that, sir.
No,
but I
that-
think
that's
we
not
can,
for
we can,
us.
but your premise is incorrect because you just explained World Bank is not CBI. You're private.
Exactly.
And then even with some of the private sector CBI projects, it's not CBI money. These are private investors
The
that
geothermal
are incentivized by CBI. It's not CBI money. These are private investors. So yeah, this is one of the myths, as Kenny's talking about, the mythology. We have a lot of myths that have been repeated over and over, and the people out there, as you guys are hearing in the station now, that's literally what people believe on a day-to-day basis. Some of it is accurate, but some is not.
You're live on the other side. You're breaking up, so you may have to call us back. Let's take another call. Caller, you're live.
Yes, I'm listening tonight to your panel, and it's amazing because to me, you're not aware of what is happening in Dominica with respect to election issues. We have had rigging of elections since 2005, and that's a fact. We have a big uproar right now, the Dennis Byron situation. So to hear this gentleman refer to election results, to speak as if this Labour Party government that has been stealing elections for the past at least 3 election cycles, where we have court cases pending, where we have the DPP nolly in trying to prevent election matters to be heard in the court, where we have every election cycle, we have challenges made in court, and we have the judiciary delaying the process deliberately. We cannot have hearings in court to settle election matters. We have a situation where on the eve of election, the village of Salisbury was tear gassed. The days before, the village of Marigot was tear gassed. Again, all dealing with election irregularities. We have the statement from Mr. Skerritt that no law, no constitution can prevent him to do what he wants to do with respect to election issues.
We're running out of time.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, caller. You want to answer that, Mr. Jones?
I just want to say again, you know, elections are won or lost by your ability to get people to go to the polls to vote for you. No, I do not know what the voting population, the number is, whether it's 20,000 or 25,000 people. And if you are able to get the majority of the people to vote for you, then you win. That's based on your message, your ability to organize and to mobilize your people to the polls.
Let's take this one. Caller, you're live on the other side. Hello?
Surprised at you, Mr. Hill. You leave St. Thomas and go down to join that corruption government. And all of you all here speaking from our passport money. And all of you look back in scary and talk about the opposition. All you better go and sing for your supper. Good night.
Good night, caller. Let's take another one quickly.
Obviously, this caller knows me. I just want to say hi, good night. I want to wish you well. I don't know who you are, but I know you love me.
Caller, you're live on the other side.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
A question to Mr. Jones.
Yes, keep
Mr.
it short,
Jones, did you
please.
put any proposal to the government for public housing?
Okay, thank you, caller.
Well, I when I came here in 17 after the hurricane, I did approach the government in responding to the issue of the housing revolution, making Dominica the first climate resilient country in the world. And I did give a presentation, made a proposal to the government by introducing this new billing system. But it's still a work in progress.
Let's take another one. Caller, you're live on the other side.
Hi, good evening to you, Tanya. Good evening
Hi.
to you, my friend Sam. I just want to extend my sympathy to you. I just want to let you know that while you and your family walk in the shadow of death, the good Lord's going to see you guys through. Sam,
Thanks
will
so
the
much.
funeral will be on St. Croix or what?
It'll be on St. Croix because that's where she lived for the past 56 years. So thanks so much for your
No problem, Sam. But I have a few concerns that I need to bring forward. First of all, Senator David Jones, I want to ask you a question. David Jones, let me ask you a question, right?
Yes. Good evening.
When you run for the Senate in St. Croix, did you have to pay voters from Washington D.C., Passage, or Atlanta, Miami, New York to come and vote for you? That's a question for you. And now, Mr. Patrick Hill, Frederick Barron, you have his document holding forever. He asked me to convey this message to you. When is he going to get his document that he's been trying to get from you forever?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, caller, we'll allow them to answer you now. Okay, thank you.
And to answer your question, in terms of voters, we do have what we call absentee voting, and I did send out absentee voting ballots to individuals living on the mainland United States who are eligible to vote in the Virgin Islands.
Okay, and Miss, you are Frederick
No, I
Barron
just said
document?
I have no idea.
I saw that too today. I saw that there today, and the person said you have
So,
a document.
so you know, Dave mentioned about character assassination, and here it has started because to stump for Dave, in the first show, you did mention about you making a proposal. You actually preempted all of this, and you stated what you had done. But here's what has happened is that you guys have come into the studio, and because certain people don't like the tone and direction of your analysis, all of a sudden it's fair season to attack you guys personally. And that is proof positive to what you said earlier. There's just this constant approach of attacking the person rather than the message, and that will continue. And unfortunately, it looks like the message isn't getting through, but at least you stated what it is, and it's happening right now.
Yeah, the one thing I would say about that is I have never, I don't think that anybody who you attack personally is probably going to vote for you. So the less personal attacks that you have as a politician, the less you attack people personally, is the more likely people will vote for you.
I have a question here.
And by your love.
Okay. I have a question here from someone, and I should ask because it's blowing up my phone. A little upset I haven't. How long was DLP out of office, and what was is it DFP's role in DLP getting back into office?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yes.
The Dominican Labour, Eugenia Charles was in power for 15 years. So the Dominican Labour Party was out of power for 15 years during the Eugenia Charles administration. Then the Eugenia Charles administration was replaced by Edison James and the United Workers' Party for 5 years. So that's 20 years. So the Dominican Labour Party was out of power for 20 years. What was the other part of the question?
And what was Dominica Freedom Party's role in DLP getting back?
There was a coalition government. Rosie Douglas ran as the party leader, won several seats, didn't have enough seats to actually form the government. And I believe it was Charles Savre and some other persons from the Freedom Party joined with the Dominican Labour Party to then form a coalition government, which replaced the United Workers' Party.
I hope that answered your question. Let's take another call. Okay, I have another question. Okay, yes. Caller, you alive?
Yes, character assassination, Tanya calling Dominica cockroach and cacador. That is from your side, and I do not know why you do not like to hear the truth, because I'm not assassinating anybody's character. I just want to ask some questions with respect to the irregularities of elections over the past election cycle, and we're not hearing any definite response from your panel. We're not assassinating characters. Mr. Skerritt cannot stand up in a debate. He has gone through how many election cycles, and we are still waiting for Mr. Skerritt to entertain the other leaders of the political parties in a public debate. And Sam Raphael knows that. Sam should be encouraging Mr. Skerritt to take part in that type of debate. We see how the opposition performs in the parliament with respect to debating the issues. Kenny knows that. That is why we can talk about the $4.2 billion missing based on facts and evidence brought out in the parliament. And in response to those disclosures in the parliament, you have all types of personal attacks coming from Reginald Austri and Tony Astafan and Rayburn Blackmore, top government ministers, resorting to personal attacks instead of talking about the pertinent issues that affect us, talking about CBI in a meaningful way.
Caller, we thank you. I don't mean to cut you off, but so many stuff coming in.
One of the things, let me make a comment. One of the things that I observe in this debate about electoral reform is that about things that went down. I'm quite sure there were international observers who came and observed the election process in Dominica, and they concluded that the election was free and fair.
Okay.
Well, they said it represented the will of the people that voted. So
Precisely.
But
I
essentially,
would like to
yes.
touch on what the caller said there about character assassination. That comes from both sides. Let's just keep
Precisely.
it real.
I do not.
Everybody's doing it. Everybody's super emotional in Dominica. They just love to call people names and just attack people on a personal level.
Yeah, but Tanya, within the context of this show, that's what we're talking about, and the analysis being given by Dave and Nietzsche, that their analysis is giving room to character assassination of them. It's not about denying that it happens on both sides.
Right.
This is happening on this show right now, and it is clouding the ability of those people who are receiving that information to understand that this isn't a slight on their character, but there are valuable points being made. You can't go through 20 years of saying that you're just being cheated and people are stupid, and
you have to
just
allow
can't do
people.
that.
You have to allow people. You may think this is valuable points being made, right? That's you. But somebody else may think, well, this gentleman here is lying, or this gentleman here is not giving me a valuable point.
But can
And so that's just. I think we just have to understand this is how people receive information.
But Tanya, you sit here with us every Tuesday, and you hear the personal attacks,
Yes,
unwarranted.
I do.
And this is not.
But Sam,
this.
I will say, I have sat here every Tuesday, and I've heard you guys make comments too. It may not be an attack direct, but it comes across a bit like it could be a little condescending sometimes.
Okay, there's a difference between a little condescending sometimes and personal character assassinations. This is what and what I think Nietzsche and Dave alluding to is when you're in a race and you're behind, you must run faster than the one in front of you.
Agreed.
So if you are trying to attract people to vote, insulting them isn't going to help. I don't know what English, maybe my English is not so good. But that to me, it doesn't make you're just trying to, I don't know. And this is something that I don't think is equivalent, to be honest with you. I don't think it's equivalent because I tell you the level of bitterness and attack. I've been on both sides.
Yes.
And I can tell you what, the level that I see the opposition supporters, and I'm not just saying the opposition because there are good people in the opposition, there are decent people that don't encourage it. I'm not even suggesting it's a majority, but you have a core of people here who their only debate with you is to try to assassinate your character. And I just think that that's it.
And I think it's just ridiculous and unacceptable. Yeah, but it's,
and I just want to say something here quickly. I am not. Someone made a comment about they said Skerrit side. I'm not on Skerrit side or Linton side. I am on the other side.
That was funny. I like how we
Thank you very much.
I like that. It's 7:31, guys. So you know we're gonna wrap it up here on the other side. We want to thank Mr. David Jones. Thank Nietzsche for dropping by two shows in a row, and I think it was good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed
so
the
much.
assessments. I'm sorry about all the character assassination, but hey, we are accustomed to that in Dominica.
We're big guys.
That's just how it is here. It's not acceptable, but so it be. Thank you guys for joining us this evening. Hope to see you guys again next Tuesday, same time, same place, right here. Big station, Q95.
Thank you.
Right here, right now, I put the offer out. I don't want to chase you down. I know you. The Global View on